Hello, hello, and welcome. We are going to do the awkward few minutes of everybody getting connected. It is lunchtime here in Georgia, so hopefully everyone is having a great day. Oh, I see Natalie's joined. Let me invite you over. Let's see. Shannon should be joining too. Okay. Cross your fingers. Request to join. Accept. Here we go. Fingers crossed. Drum roll, please. All of the things. Let's hope technology is our friend today. Oh, there's Shannon. Hi, Shannon. It's taking its time, but we will get there. There's Amanda. Hi, Amanda. Super Shannon. I'm going to invite you, Shannon, and see if that works. Let's see. Accept. Amanda, how are you? Hopefully staying warm. It's very cold here in Georgia today. There's Shannon.
Hey, I
Hi.
was on my computer, but I couldn't figure out how to make it work, so I'm on my phone now.
Yeah, I don't think that you can do it on your computer. And
That
I
was
was going to
why I
try to
can't find
restream.
it.
Oh, it says she's unable to join. Natalie, if you can hear me, um, maybe drop out and then come back in and I'll re-invite. Oh, no, I think it works. There we go.
Yay!
We made it. There's always that like awkward few minutes of these lives where everybody's getting connected and it's all weird, but we made
I was
it.
scared
So
there for a second. I was like, uh-oh.
I know it told me that you couldn't join, and then it's like, oh gosh, here we go. The Instagram gods have smiled on us though. So everybody, welcome.
Yay.
You two haven't even officially met, but I will kind of introduce what we are even doing here today. Carolina Creek House team decided that we wanted to start a series here on Instagram and YouTube where we kind of tap into all of the valuable content that our experts in our network have and share it with our community. Everything from interior design to organizing to cleaning tips just to help you kind of build your dream home. So I'm Heather Cleverly. I'm the social media manager at Carolina Creek House, and we have Shannon, the brains behind the brand, our fearless leader. And Natalie Lee is joining us today. And I personally know Natalie because we spend a lot of our weekends cheering kids on from the soccer field. I found out Natalie was an interior designer and I thought it was really cool. And then she invited us all to her house one day for a party. And I walked in and my jaw dropped and I was like, I'm going to be a weirdo and just poke through your house. I hope you don't mind.
Like, go for it.
She did. She said, just go for it. I'll be here. So when we decided to do the series, I knew I wanted to tap into Natalie because you not only do residential, but you do commercial and all of the above. So I knew you had a lot of really valuable insights into the design world. So Natalie, tell us a little bit about your brand. It's called Design Build Style, right? And it's here in
Yeah,
Georgia, based here in Georgia.
in Georgia, it's a mainly home renovation company, but we also do commercial, so restaurant, redoing, mainly kitchens, bathrooms, basements. We come in and renovate for homeowners, and we've recently changed our name. It used to be Design Build Sell with the real estate component of selling properties after renovating them, but we switched to Design Build Style because people started asking us to furnish their spaces and handle all the decor aspects of it as well. So this last 2 years, we've really branched into the style aspect, which leads me here, obviously.
Yeah.
So
And
That's
yeah,
all.
it's so both of you actually, Shannon has a absolutely gorgeous farmhouse in Milton, Canton area.
honest.
We've done lots of shoots in her house as well. So I think it takes a special kind of person. The two of you are both very good at it. I, on the other hand, am not. So I come to you guys for advice to have that design eye. Kind of feels overwhelming. So how did you get started? Has it always been something that you've done, or is it something that you kind of got started and kind of fell into?
For me?
Yeah. So, sorry, Natalie.
Oh, that's okay. Sorry, the audio got a little weird. Yeah. So I actually my first career was in real estate. My husband and I are real estate partners, and then I have two little boys. And when I got pregnant, stayed home with the boys. Didn't quite feel like getting back into real estate, and then we were actually getting our basement finished. And the contractor that we hired said, man, you know, you're really good at this. And I had never stepped into interior design before. And I said, okay, you think I'm so good at it? Give me a job. Because I was, you know, at home with two kids, not wanting to sit at home staring at the wall anymore. And, you know, if you're a creative mind, you got to do something. So I'm like, am I going to make door wreaths, or can I find another career? So anyway, he hired me for a job, and it just kind of worked. And once we started getting into it, I realized actually I'd like to own the company. I don't want to work for someone, and I wanted to do it, you know, my way. So decided to start Design Build Sell, and here we are. So really, we come in and we renovate, or we do the design, furnishing, decor, the construction aspect of it as well. So really beginning to end.
That's awesome. Awesome. So, so you've been around for a while doing this, and I know you've done a few videos on kind of the 2025 trends that we need to look
Yep.
for in design.
Yep.
So kind of what are your top 5 design trends that we should be looking for in
What I love
2025?
about but 2025 is it's a little bit different, and that's what I've told sort of my audience and my clients is before I always feel like we're trying to fit in boxes of what the industry is telling us what is on trend. And as we know, you know, farmhouse was a huge thing for so many years, and then it started shifting a little bit to mid-century modern, and then it was going a little bit transitional, traditional. And again, design is regional, so I'm speaking to, you know, where I am, but this year has been great. I feel like people are able to branch out and do what fits them personally instead of not necessarily trying to copy, Joanna Gaines, love her. But for a while there, it felt like everybody wanted to do exactly what she was doing instead of putting their own personalities into design. So for 2025, I say tap into what you like. You know, if you have a designer or something that you work with, find those things that might fit, your style, but it's pretty open-ended for 2025, and I really like that. It's refreshing to not feel like I'm copying what someone shows me from Instagram all the time.
Yeah, and we did see that for a long time. And in fact, a lot of our, I think, kind of base really tapped into that Joanna Gaines kind of farmhouse
Yeah.
style. And it's cool to see how that's kind of transitioning, and they're still holding on to that farmhouse traditional feel, but they're
Yeah.
adding some more different elements and modern elements into that. So I remember seeing on one of your videos that color drenching, is that coming to 2025 or staying, I guess?
Yeah, it's been around. And so what's funny, I noticed a lot is a lot of stuff may start sort of East Coast and then shift over, I mean, sort of West Coast and then shift over East Coast. I feel like sometimes we get things a little bit later and we put our tweak on it. Color drenching is going to be around. We did it a bunch last year, and it's a great way to add a background to a space, especially if you need to neutralize a space that might have a lot of architectural interest in it and it's a little too busy. I think color drenching, which is where you do the ceiling all the way to the walls, the trim, doors, everything in the same color. I think it will definitely be around.
Okay,
They,
that's good because that's what I'm about to do to my bedroom. So I'm glad that you've
Yes.
confirmed that that's a good idea.
I just saw the HGTV Dream Home too. That's in Bluffton, South Carolina, and
Yeah.
they did that. That was a good demonstration of really color coming back
Yeah.
in. And I mean, I didn't love all of it, but I thought a lot of it was really well done. But that color drenching really, when there were a lot of different angles in a room, they say that's a good way to just kind of,
Tone it down.
hmm yeah.
Yeah, and what's great though is, you know, we went through the season of the all white house where everything is white, which I still love white. I'm a very monochromatic girly at heart. I like my spaces to be calming, but that's a great way. Color drenching is a great way to use color in a less sort of loud way, which is kind of counterintuitive to what you might think like, oh, that's too much. No, when it's everywhere, it actually tones it down, so
Mhm.
it's not standing out so much. So
Okay, so we've got Amanda Bowen is in the chat. I just want to make sure that we're seeing everybody. And if you join and are listening in and you want to ask any questions, feel free. So Amanda says, "I've got bright colored and jewel toned walls. Am I on trend?"
yeah. 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 I mean, it depends on, that's a very broad.
Yeah.
So here's the beauty. It's 2025. Do you like that's, it really is that. But again, it's tweaking it. So if you're saying jewel tones, greens are super big this year. That's a color that I love. I actually consider it almost a neutral, depending on what shade of green you can fit it in with just about everything. So yeah, I see that she said that her ceilings are white. Is that the same person?
Yeah.
That's not a true color drenching. So if you do your trim and your walls and your trim, meaning your baseboards, crown molding, and your doors, if that's all drenched and the ceilings are white, that's not true color drenching. You can leave it that way, but I would say, take a picture and put it. There's so many different apps now where you can put the color. I think even Sherwin-Williams and different brands have those apps where you can test out having the color on the ceiling and see what you think of it. But yeah, those jewel tones are in. It just depends. There's a 90s jewel tone, which we all remember, the hunter green and the burgundies. There's like,
Burgundy,
yeah, there's
gold.
those. Yes, those certain shades trigger us all a little bit with the 90s. But the current 2025 tones are a little more muted and rich, maybe not quite as like primary color-esque, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, she said greens and blues are my fave. And we've seen a lot of greens. In fact, one of our collaborators, Emily, she's done a completely green kitchen and it is absolutely stunning. She does a lot of
Yeah.
content for us too. Awesome. So going back to the colors, I guess, the Pantone color of the year is that mocha
Mhm.
color. Have you been seeing that a lot show up in designs?
It's coming. So usually what ends up happening in the demographic that I work with, I work with, I'd say, middle class America to high end. It depends, mainly sort of the middle class people. So a lot of times what happens is people end up gravitating towards what is available, meaning what is at the store at, Floor and Decor or Tile Bar, or different places that I source. So when the big industry shifts the color palette, which they've started to do away from the cold grays that we saw 5 years ago, things are starting to warm up into that mocha, back to the khaki, tan, into those tones. So yes, people are starting to inch that way. But again, the beauty of 2025 is I do think you can blend all the different things, and there's so many even different countertops available, for kitchens. If we're talking about kitchens or bathrooms, that blend the tones together. So it's a great way that you can have the mocha colors, but still hold on to some of the grays that I know some people are like, wait a minute, I just renovated 5 years ago and you're telling me I
Yeah.
have to switch it now. That's the design of the industry. So I always try and make it work for people. But yes, that mocha, those warmer colors are definitely coming back for sure.
That's interesting. Yeah, I did a lot of grays in my house, and we're actually at the point where we're going to start painting other color. And I'm again so overwhelmed by the choices. So if you're working with a client like me, and I want to paint my whole entire house, how do you kind of narrow it down for them? Like, do you give them a few different colors, and you're like, choose
Yeah.
these, or how does that process work?
Usually, so my background is actually psychology, oddly enough. That's what I went to Georgia State University for. And you think, well, how do you ever use that? I actually use it a lot because really, when I go in to meet a client, I look at the environment, I listen to what they're saying, I look at the decor that's there. And I always have to start asking the question, hey, are we working with the pieces or the decor or the furniture that is in the home? Well, if the answer is yes, we need to keep what's here, well, then that's going to narrow it down greatly most of the time. And then from there, I just ask simple questions or see, hey, do you know like this throw pillow? Or when you see this picture, do you have an inspiration from Instagram or Pinterest that you like? And then I sort of weave it into what makes sense for them in their household, if that makes sense.
Okay. Shannon, when you're designing your house, is that kind of like you've got, I wouldn't call it eccentric, but you've got a lot of pieces because you're a big thrifter and stuff too, right? You
Oh,
find vintage pieces.
I, I
Um,
kind of like the general rule that you have to have at least one antique in every room of the home, and like
Yes.
it has to be like a favorite piece.
Mhm.
So, and then I just go around from there. I like to mix and match and do a lot of new and old together.
Mhm.
And I've never gone with like the norm I just go with what I like. And so I think the 2025 rule that you gave is good because I've always followed it.
Well, but that's what I actually just did a video on it too. Is for a while everything was new. Of course, marketplace always trying to tell you to buy stuff, but then your spaces feel so sterile and just anybody could live there.
Mhm.
So you're to your point, have pieces that you like. Like artwork's a great way to bring in something unique, or from Facebook Marketplace or thrifting or what have you, or a local artist is even better. But yeah, I like that too. I think every space should be. What did I say in the video? I think I said 70% new if you're still on that trend. 30% of it needs to be stuff that you love or have curated specifically, not from where everybody else is shopping.
Yeah, I love the Facebook Marketplace.
Hmm.
I'm so on
Too
that.
many hours can be
It,
lost on there, though.
it's that. Yeah, that and just I also do antique auctions,
Oh, nice.
and so I'm always looking for deals.
Yes, that's
The thrill
awesome.
of the hunt is what I call
Hmm.
it. Yeah.
If I had more time, I would.
I don't have time.
Shannon,
I just find it because it's like what I enjoy doing.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
Amanda said she
I'm
collects antiques mostly. Oh, sorry.
sorry.
Antiques are
There's a
great, and you can find, and that is the beauty of the current trends. It's like I said, for a while it felt so modern and sterile, which is great, but most of that's going to be newly purchased items. But now antiques, I think those are the conversation pieces, the soul of a space when you
Yeah.
can have a piece that's not new. So yeah, love that.
yeah. So my husband and I, we just we didn't go full on with an in-person interior designer, which I think we will on our next big project, but we did one of the online designers. And that was one of the drawbacks, is because it wasn't somebody that's coming into your home that knows the
Right.
psychology and everything about it. So he gave us the colors and everything we needed, but a lot of the recommendations were very, not cookie cutter, I guess that's not the right
Yeah,
word,
yeah.
but it's something that you would get from Target that everybody else has. You know,
Hmm.
that big cow picture that was in everybody's home for a long time and
Hmm.
things like that. And for me, I was like, that's great, thank you. That helps with the colors and everything, but we're gonna kind of go and source some of our own artwork and stuff and make it our own.
Yeah.
So it was a good building block, but I totally agree. I think to show your personality in your space in your home is really
Hmm.
important. Um, so a big thing with Carolina Creek House is bringing a functional design into your home. And I know that you work with a lot of high-end clients and they probably like the big luxurious rugs and stuff, but for a lot of people, that's just not, it's not realistic with your lifestyle. So one of the big things that we offer with our products is we have beautiful designs. And I think, Natalie, you've had some time to look through a lot of the designs
Yeah.
that we have. But they really work well for people with mobility issues. I know Shannon's sister-in-law was part of the beginning of the brand because she was in a wheelchair and she was finding it really
Mm.
difficult to navigate her house with rugs and stuff. And you know, we have kids, we have soccer players that are coming in the house with muddy shoes
Yep.
all of the time, and dogs and all of the things. So I know I was probably replacing our area rugs like sometimes even twice a year. And I got to the point where I was just buying a really cheap Amazon rug
Yeah.
and it would last maybe a few months. And then I started putting our flats throughout my house and they've lasted years now. So I guess my question to you is, do you have any other products, or do you find that you're putting more functional design in people's houses to make it more realistic? I mean, everybody wants to show house, right? But realistically, you have to kind of incorporate some more functional things in your
For
house.
sure. I mean, it's great. And what's funny is where I found some success too, especially working with contractors and different builders, is designers get a bad rap. We walk into a room and all the guys, oh gosh, like here comes trouble. They all say that because there's so many times and they I picture they have these big ideas, but it's not functional or not even, sometimes they defy the laws of gravity, what they're asking people to do. So yeah, function to me always comes over even the beauty in a design. You can have both. And that's what I think is great about these products is especially, to your point of, we do in-law suites downstairs. That's a big trend that we're seeing in the marketplace because of the economy, where family members might be moving into the basement, and they want to make sure it's a livable space. So yes, the wipeability for kids and wheelchair accessibility, all that kind of stuff is great. And I was on the same trend. I would tell my husband, he'd be like, another rug? I'm like, yes, but it's very cheap and we're gonna throw it away.
Yeah.
So don't worry about an aging dog. We had an aging dog for years, and
Hmm.
for a while we had no rugs. And honestly, I wish I would have known about this brand because I had to get rid of all the rugs because the dog is more important than
Sure.
the rugs. So a wipeability factor, all that kind of stuff is definitely huge, especially for, like you said, realistic living in your home. You still want it to look good, but you don't necessarily want to throw something away all the time, and you want to be able to use it and not be, tiptoeing around it. Most of our homes are not show places, like we actually live there.
Right. Right. At least until the kids move
Right.
out and then I can have,
Yes.
yeah.
But even then, I'm
um,
always going to have a dog, so I don't know. I want to be able to
true.
wipe it down.
And we have to give a shout out to Ace. Ace
Yes.
is you rescued Ace, right?
Yep, he was about, I guess, 8 or 9 months ago now. We rescued him from Fulton County Shelter, which is a high kill shelter here in Georgia, and he's been the best. He's mainly husky with some shepherd and a bunch of other things, but he's been a great pup to have around. So, but those the pet mats that you have, right?
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
wipeability, but they're still cute because so many times you go to PetSmart and it's not a good looking product, and you're like, well, whatever. So, love those for sure.
Where
Yeah.
is Ace?
We're gonna have to send you one.
Where
Sorry.
Ace,
Come
He's
on.
he-
Ace.
he's our team mascot, so all the kids love Ace.
Hold on
He's
a
a bit of a
second. Let me see
celebrity
if
on
I
the
can.
sidelines.
You can ask me really quick. Let me just see if he's close. He usually doesn't go too far. Oh, there he is. Hold on. Look, buddy. Say hi.
There he is. He's
Aw,
got
he
those
is
husky
so
eyes.
cool. Wow, those
Look,
eyes.
look at
I
you.
know. We're
So
That's
gonna
he's
have to
our
get a
team
custom
mascot.
Ace
He's got
pet
his
platform.
soccer collar, so we style him out for the event.
that's awesome.
That's awesome. Awesome. So I had a couple questions. I put the question out there if they had any questions for our expert here today. So we have a few that came in, and I know Amanda's been asking some there too. Amanda, she said she's obsessed with her flat. She does have a flat
Thanks.
as well. So first question, are there any colors to avoid when you're color drenching? So going back to that color drenching conversation.
I mean, really, I think it's just super bright colors because again, the beauty of color drenching is it gives you a great backdrop for your decor, for your new pieces, for your antiques, for your artwork, where it's just a little more muted in the background. So, there is a maximalist vibe where people use crazy bright colors, but I'd say for most people, just avoid a super bright color that's going to be crazy jarring when you walk into the space. So any kind of a neutral, but that's greens, browns, blacks, grays, all those kind of, or even like a nice rich burgundy, like we were talking about in some of those jewel tones, or a navy, all those can work as long as it's not crazy bright. Now, if it's a
Yeah.
playroom or a restaurant, that's a totally different conversation. But for main dwelling spaces, just as long as it's not too jarring of a color. But again, that's personal. So it really just
Yeah.
depends on what
And I
you're.
think a lot of people are scared to go super dark in spaces. They think it's going to close the space off, and that's not really true,
Yeah, it
right?
depends on the space. Now, some spaces, depending on lighting, there's so many factors that go into it. But the fear that I don't even really know where that came from, honestly, because I even remember growing up hearing that.
Yeah.
It's not true. Actually, darker colors can actually open the space in many different ways. So it really does. Lighting is a big factor. If you have natural light, then it's typically not an issue. Now, if it's no windows and you've got big, heavy, dark furniture, sure, there's so many
Right.
facets that go in. But no, I wouldn't be afraid of dark colors. I think it adds a nice richness, especially if the rest of your house is pretty bright and fresh. Dining rooms, bathrooms, bedrooms, those are great rooms to add some extra character.
Awesome. Okay, question number two. What's a 2025 trend you think will age badly? And this is kind of that an interesting question because I'm in a early 90s house, so I'm slowly replacing all the gold fixtures
Yeah.
in all the bathrooms and everything. So is there anything that you're seeing that you think maybe to stay away from? But I mean,
No, it's not.
what you said is it's kind of your own style right now, so maybe
Oh,
it's
I
a little
think it's
different.
like do what you want, but I have seen, and I called it last year, sort of granny chic. People always take things so far. So, even color drenching, you wouldn't want to color drench your whole house necessarily because then it's all feeling very one note. That's why I think certain rooms do really well with that. So I think overdoing any trend is problematic. And just like, as we're leaning into antiques and traditional pieces and adding some character to spaces, there's some people that I sort of watch in the marketplace and I'm like, oh gosh, they're going too far. Like everything, it now just feels like your grandma's house. You
Yeah.
need they needed to edit just a little bit. So really any trend though that you take too far is too much, but there's not really a specific, again, it's all relative to the space, but yeah, just don't
Yeah.
overdo it. Any trend that you see anywhere, any year,
Okay. That's good advice. Okay, and so the last question we got is, are there any tips for mixing and matching patterns? And this is an interesting question because a lot of our designs, like a good example would be our table flats. A lot of people will mix and match these patterns on tables or with maybe a tablecloth or things like that. So do you have any maybe tips or suggestions when you're mixing and mixing and matching, that's a mouthful, patterns within your house?
So it really depends. I actually just did another little video on YouTube about it. Just, even pillows outside, I'll just use throw pillows as an example. If you have a geometric pattern, say a line or a hex or a diamond, a shape, those are nicely paired with more of a natural pattern, meaning if it's like a grass cloth look or a bunch of swirly circles, something more round. So you can think if you have linear shapes, it's always nice to be complemented with something more organically shaped, if that makes sense. And to your point, I think you guys actually made a note here. It's the Camden beige that you guys have that. That pattern is a great, what I'd say, neutral. You could pair that with so many things because it's neutral base. So if you have something neutral like the Camden and in one area, and then even if you had sort of the Mallory, which is the black and white elsewhere, those actually can complement each other because they're not fighting. They're a little different, if that makes sense. But the tip would be organic shape paired with a geometric shape. That would be the balance.
Okay. I'm taking notes here so that I can keep this in mind later.
Yeah.
Free decorate.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been really enlightening. I'm going to use a lot of this to post more content and share, make sure everybody gets all these little tidbits of good little information here. So Natalie, where can we find you? If anybody's watching or is going to watch later, where can they find you and get even more information? I know you share some really great stuff.
Yeah, we're everywhere. But mainly, Instagram is what we would consider our portfolio. So we put a lot of job stuff on there. Facebook is more of our personal community where we get a lot of jobs. We post just about every job that we do. Well, not every job that we do, but that we feel is worthy of putting online. That's on there with interactive videos and sort of a direct access to me. And most newly, we are on YouTube and we're growing there. We just passed the 1,000 subscribers, which is a big deal for a small channel. So, but that's a great place for so many of the questions that even you asked me. I'm making videos on those things to educate people, but also have a little bit of fun with it. Just a place to stop and get some of those questions answered on the regular from someone that's in the business that's not too stuffy and hopefully not boring.
Yeah. No, it's really great. I tune in all the time.
Yeah, if you type in design.build.style on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, we should pop up. So I hope somebody comes over there.
That's cool.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll check it out for sure.
I saw Michelle Emick joined. I just wanted to shout out. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Shannon. I think there's a delay. Sorry.
Natalie's house. We might need to do a photo shoot there.
Yeah, come on. I was look that I already know. I was making my notes of the other one that I like that you guys have is the Audrey. That one I would imagine you'd sell a lot of this year with that navy rich, and it's traditional but not. It's just the perfect balance there. So that one's a beauty too.
Always done well for us, and also the Caroline. You might want to check out. My favorite is the Caroline blue.
Okay, I'll look it up. And I was also thinking, I had said to Heather before when I was looking through your products, is the flats. Like I have a big kitchen island. I'm sure you've done this already, but using those as an anchor for a little moment on your countertops because I always try and do, whether it's like a little jar or candle or figurine or something in my kitchen as a little moment, but using that as an anchor for some decor, and there's so many ideas.
I like that.
Yeah, it's true. I think there's so many things that the product can be used for in good ways.
Thank you.
Well, perfect. We will be scheduling a photo shoot.
Yes, we will. In exchange for some mats, whatever you are missing.
No, come. Hey, we do a live here from the people and do live styling for them.
Yeah. You can actually just, style them right in live action. So thank you again for joining us today. And anybody listening, we have a brand new Facebook community that we are building with information like Natalie sharing today. You can get it all the time. We're going to be talking about design tips and cleaning tips and organizing tips and all things home. I will link it in our bio so you can join us there. And also, we're on YouTube as well. So follow us on YouTube. Make sure you follow Natalie as well. And thank you for joining today.
Thanks, Heather. Have a good one.
Guys, we'll see you soon.